Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamingTech.com video we're going to be discussing the proposed possible shortage of PlayStation 4s in Europe. You may remember just a few short days ago I released a video that was talking about news that Sony were well behind schedule in terms of the manufacturing of the PlayStation. Rumours, of course. However, it looks like this is not the case. It looks like the PS4 will not be released in 2014 in Europe, at least according to a source in Sony. Indeed, it looks as though they are making Europe to be a huge priority in the next generation war. In fact, so much so that is actually a possibility that they're even going to have the shortage in Japan. Now, we'll go into that in a moment. So, right now, it's fairly safe to say that if you're Microsoft, you know that the biggest areas that you can win the console war would be, of course, well, Europe and, parts of America. And they know that really Japan is not exactly going to be a surefire lock-in for Microsoft at all. It's very difficult for them to get any kind of foothold. On the other hand, the reverse is the case, of course, for Sony. The PlayStation routinely does extremely well in Japan. On the other hand, they've been a lot more even playing field with Microsoft in the UK, Europe, of course, as a whole, as well as the United States of America. And, of course, Canada and all the other areas too, before you yell at me for forgetting you in the video. Accordingly, the Xbox 360 actually sold better in the UK than what the PlayStation 3 did. You're looking at 8 million in the UK, compared to around 5 million. On the other hand, the Xbox did 40 million in the United States and managed around 25 million in the US. So obviously, there is ground there to be made up. So accordingly, Sony have decided that it's most likely going to consider Japan as a safe territory. In 2012, the Microsoft team revealed that it had actually secured Phil Harrison's services as the corporate vice president. And Microsoft said that Harrison will not only lead Microsoft Studios' European organization directly, but will also influence the broader performance in our IEBS's European businesses through strategic partnership and by bringing culturally relevant entertainment experiences to the Microsoft platforms now and in the future. Out of quote, Harrison has an in-depth knowledge of UK and European studios, and so because of that, it's certainly a great shot across the bow early, at least from Microsoft to Sony. And this is not the kind of thing that Sony wants. Sony obviously does not want to just rely on the old, we are safe in Japan, so we need to just, potter along in the other regions. It's just not how things are going. Now, accordingly, it seems that we're not 100% sure whether the PlayStation 4 shortage will actually affect anywhere, I'm sorry, if I can get the words out, it's going to be one of those days, isn't it? However, right now, sources at CVG understand that if stock is actually tight, the United States and Europe will take priority over what Sony considered to be a safe region, obviously Japan. And indeed, CVG have heard from a company insider that PlayStation is, and I quote, prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure that no PS4 delay is across Europe. This is a very bold, very brash, but very smart decision, in my opinion, by Sony. Let's face it, they know that Microsoft are unlikely. That doesn't mean impossible, but it's unlikely that one Christmas is going to be enough for Sony to lose the war in Japan against Microsoft. On the other hand, it's going to be a huge blow for them, because they still haven't been doing as well as Xbox in, say, the United States. On the other hand, Microsoft are going to be there, and they are most likely going to have a good launch lineup. I don't exactly know what titles are going to be announced, because, well, that will be announced soon enough, I suppose, within just a few short days now. However, it's most likely going to be a very good lineup, and if we assume that they're going to be an equal-ish lineup to Sony, and you have to do that. You can't assume it's going to be worse, you have to assume it's going to be at least about as good. Then Sony are going to have a real fight on their hands, and so it makes a lot more sense for them to bolster areas which are weaker rather than trying to just carry on business as usual in their strong areas. On the other hand, it would be kind of ironic and in my opinion very unlikely, but it would be somewhat ironic if Microsoft were able to creep into the back door in Japan and actually do pretty well. It's unlikely. I suppose it really depends upon their marketing in the region as well as the games. Obviously, a lot of the games that make it from Japan into our hands, with the Metal Gear Solids and the Castlevanias and so forth, they are by no means the only games that are released in the Japanese region, as I'm sure most of you know. And there are a lot of games which are aimed specifically at Japanese tastes and therefore are very unlikely to get a conversion, if ever. And so the only way you can really play them is by basically either understanding Japanese and importing the game, or by using a guide and basically hoping that the guide translates it well enough for you to be able to play it. On the other hand, well, this is a very interesting move by Sony. It will be interesting to see how the Japanese players deal with the frustration if there is a shortage in Japan. Obviously, right now it is by no means confirmed that this is actually the case. If you're curious for more, however, you can check out the link to the article on redgamingtech.com. I will link it, of course, in this video, and then you can check out all the relevant links to CVG and all the other good stuff as well. Regardless, I am going to get going. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video and found it a little bit interesting, and I will see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.